HIV are at risk as the country runs out of Septrin, an essential drug that prevents opportunistic infections. HIV and AIDS activists warn that this scarcity will weaken immunity among people with HIV in the country, exposing them to more infections and reversing the gains made in containing the virus. KTN News Health and Science reporter Beldine Waliaula has more on this crisis.
Close to 1.5 million Kenyans living with HIV depend on cotrimoxazole antibiotic, popularly known by the trade name Septrin, have been living without the life-saving drugs for months now.
We haven't experienced this shortage before. Like for the last 18 years, it has been okay. But since the COVID struck our country in March, we have experienced a great, huge problem. We tried to buy the drug, the Septrin drug, at around sometimes in April, and then it eloped and we never got the drug again.
Offered free as part of the antiretroviral therapy regimen, its limited and dwindling supply is causing a wave of anxiety, particularly among young people living with HIV, because they cannot afford to buy other alternatives in the market.
And for those who have not yet been shifted to the ART, they're just doing some good diet, and since our country it's it has a problem when it comes to poverty, young people are just surviving by the grace of God. Yes.
Like everyone else affected by the global pandemic, young people lost their jobs and it became more difficult for them living with HIV to have a balanced diet, let alone buying these lifelong medicines.
Because you know the HIV virus only eats the white blood cells, and the white blood cells is what make you move most of the time. So once the white blood cells are weak, any sickness or any disease can take you down, or any symptoms can really put you down. So we really need to make sure that the viral load of these young people are being captured. But at the moment I'm talking about, I really know and we understand that most of the young people have not adhered to their treatment well because of the challenges they really get in the facilities and also during this COVID.
According to a survey by the World Health Organization, at the height of the pandemic, more than 70 countries had warned that they risked running out of HIV medicines due to low stocks or the effects of disrupted global supply chain.
When you go to the shop, you have to buy those two small that look like Panadol or paracetamol, the round one for GOK. So we find it a big challenge for the young people to get the prescription at the facility, at the shopkeeper where they can take this medication well. Children
under 8 years need to take Septrin syrup, which is currently out of stock. The ARVs zidovudine and nevirapine for babies to prevent mother-to-child transmission of the virus is also in short supply, risking the lives of the infants.
But we continue to tell people to adhere to the ARVs. In the absence of Septrin, people still need to adhere to ARVs because ARVs are available. For those who miss it completely, they may progress much faster from HIV to AIDS, and that's what we are trying to avoid.
The country's heavy reliance on donor funding has also significantly affected the procurement of the medicines by the government. According to the National AIDS Control Council 2018 report, Kenya's HIV prevalence is at 4.9%, which is 1.3 million Kenyans. 184,700 are young people and 105,200 are children under 15 years of age. According to a KEMSA report on the status of ARVs in the country, other crucial ARVs are either low or out of stock. These are lamivudine and ritonavir of different formulations. Even as the Ministry of Health tries to flatten the COVID-19 curve, there is a need to focus in availing Septrin in order to maintain the gains made in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the country. Beldine Waliaula, KTN News.